Record. All right, so first and foremost, while I got everybody on the call, guys, thank you as always for making a commitment, and I will continue to say this every week to yourself for being on here. At the end of the day, everything about life and business, and it's about doing what you say you were going to do, especially when you had that emotion when you first started something. So just the simple act of you making a commitment to be on this call, that's a win to start your day, because the reality is there's still a lot of people that have that excuse. Even if you can hear it from somebody who's built companies that have over 20 franchises, some of the most successful people in the world, there are still people that think sleeping in is more valuable, or whatever else, that they give themselves an option to not make the commitment to themselves, to their future, to be on here. The reality is, the average person will always have that excuse. So I want to share with you guys, hey guys, you started the day with a win, and I appreciate you showing up for yourself, for the education to grow your lives, your businesses, get wisdom and knowledge, and most importantly, showing up for your brothers and sisters in the harvest. Because like you guys, as you see each other on the screens, I always want to teach you guys and make sure it's at the forefront on how to get all the abundance that's in this community. And there's a ton of talent with amazing networks, amazing wisdom and resources in every one of these squares. So as you're on here, be intentional. I want you guys locked in and dialed in for the wisdom that we're all about to receive, so that we can push the limits for our life and business. But this is just another reminder, if you see somebody on these screens that you haven't connected with, and remember, it's about building relationships. That's what brings an abundance of referrals to grow your business, right? So if you haven't connected with somebody on these screens, I want to challenge you guys to get uncomfortable, do what you're supposed to be doing in this community so you can get the results that everybody should be getting in this community. And make sure, shoot somebody a message, shoot a brother in here a message, shoot a sister in here a message. Say, hey, listen, Kelly, I see that you and your husband are doing amazing things. You got a whole investment community. You guys, own franchises. You sold franchises. I got to connect with you. I want to learn more about you. I want to see how I can help you. What networks that we can connect together. That's the work that we should all be doing on here, because I see every single one of you, what businesses you're in, who you target, who you can help. And in the same breath, the person next to you on the screen, I'm like, man, if they just were intentional, connected with this person, there could be some dots connected that can 10x their business, or there could be some resources for that person because of who they know that can set this person free, either mentally, physically, spiritually, or professionally. So I just want to give you guys that reminder, right? Don't just sit and kind of like put your toes in the water of the harvest, right? Go all in. And that's the same mindset you guys should be having with everything that you do. The average person half-asses things, right? We do not want to be the average person in here, right? None of you, I know each and every single one of you, none of you are average. You either own companies, you build companies, or you're a high performer in whatever it is that you do. So just set that standard for yourself. We don't want to half-ass anything, because that's not who we are. That's not the example that we want to set for our children or whoever it is that we lead, right? So have that as a standard for yourself, to where, dude, I don't just show up and half-ass these communities. I come in, I contribute. I run the play. I do the work. I motivate and inspire other people. I contribute to other people. I show up consistently. I share the community. I contribute with other like-minded people to the community. And wait till you see the abundance that you will have in your life. So just wanted to thank you guys for making that commitment to yourself. Just a few other brief updates before I introduce our next speaker. Harvest Live, July 30th. Please have this in your calendar. This is a month away. This is our once a month live in-person event. And this time, last month was a summer social. It was great seeing you guys at Burlington Country Club. A ton of great conversations. So this month we're going back to the in-person panel discussions, high-level entrepreneurs. There's going to be, as always, networking in person, but we're going to bring in some more incredible entrepreneurs for some panel discussions, some fireside chat, so you guys can have the best of both worlds. As always, network and learn at the same time. So that's the 30th. I know summer's tough, right? Everybody's always traveling. I get it, but if you can make that commitment, it's further enough out for you guys to block it in your calendar today. Invite a friend. This is always open to the public. We want to share what we're doing in the harvest to everybody. So if you guys know like-minded individuals, feel free to invite them to the free event. I pay for it. It's open to the public, so I can continue to surround you all with some great people. So that's the 30th. And next week, I will be actually on vacation. So I just want to give you guys an update. Whether you're in the Deep Roots community, there'll be no call, or the main community, there will be no call next week. I take my once-a-year vacation with the family. So there will be no call next week, so you don't have to hear me yelling, screaming on the other side of the Zoom. So some of you may enjoy that and may need a refresher for a week off from Devin. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, but still communicate within the community. You guys should all be doing the work, connecting with each other, sharing wins, sharing what you're working on, sharing events that you guys can all go to. So, all right, let's get into it, guys. I want to get you guys out of here by 8 o'clock because I respect your time. As always, guys, I try and bring incredible entrepreneurs, elite entrepreneurs throughout the world to bring to us. Listen, selfishly, I love to learn from these people too. I will always have this white belt mentality so I can continue to grow. But most importantly, I love to do it for everybody in our community so I can consistently expose you guys to people that are just doing business in life at some crazy high level. So we can raise the standard of what's possible in our lives and businesses. And also, most importantly, have the opportunity to ask these people the $100,000 question, the $1 million question on, hey, if I did decide to do this, what did you go through that potentially you can solve that problem for me now so I don't lose thousands of dollars making that same mistake, right? So that's the opportunity that I want to consistently bring to you guys. Again, don't just show up to the call and listen. I give you guys the background on a lot of our guest speakers so you can show up prepared to get questions answered that would typically cost you thousands of dollars to hire a consultant who probably hasn't done nowhere near what our guest speakers have done anyway. And you guys have that opportunity to get these questions answered. So with that being said, our next guest speaker, I had the incredible opportunity to start building a relationship over the past 3 months. And man, as I got to know him more and more, I start to find out more and more of what he's done in business. So this next gentleman is a serial entrepreneur, franchise expert. Clinton, as I pass the ball over to you in a second, you can talk. I don't know the exact number of martial arts and fitness franchises you have, but I know it's a lot. I don't know the exact number of restaurants that you own, but I know it's a lot. You've built companies, you sold companies, and most importantly, just like I want everybody in here, guys, I want everybody to in here know he's not only just successful in business, he's winning it all, right? And we want to win it all. He's successful in his mental, his physical, and his spiritual fitness, because that's true fulfillment. It's not just about making money, being completely out of shape, being completely mentally damaged, angry, depressed, anxiety, all that stuff. He's winning in all aspects of life. So that's why I like to bring him and expose you guys to him. And he's going to talk about a 3-step formula to using your superpowers to get shit done. Because the reality is, it's not just intaking information. Like, how do we get shit done, man? Like, how do we execute on the information at a high level from what we're learning? And a lot of times it's getting the right questions asked so it doesn't seem as difficult, because everybody likes to make things more difficult than they have to be. So, Clinton, I appreciate you coming into my family here in the Harvest, brother. And thank you so much for joining us. I know you had some technical difficulties out in Florida. You're traveling, and you still made time to be on here with us, man. So I appreciate and value that. Welcome to the Harvest.
Hey, what's up, guys? Very nice meeting you guys. Do you guys hear me well?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome.
I just set it to where you should be able to screen share. So if I miss anything, as far as your introduction, I always like to respect all of my guests and try and give the best introduction I can. But if there's something that I missed, feel free to add to it, and we can get into it.
Sure, great. Just introduce myself real quick. My name is Clinton. We currently run about 78 martial arts schools in New York, New Jersey, opening in California. We have about 20 restaurants now. We've scaled to about 20 of them. So I am the franchisor of both of the brands. We have not sold one unit yet, aggressively using franchise companies to actually sell. So once we start selling, we'll probably actually grow a lot faster. All of our projects are self-funded. So 1 grew to 2, 2 grew to 4. It's a unique business model. On top of that, we do a coaching business, we have software company, we have media company. I mean, I'm pretty much in multiple different spaces. I'm excited to share, a few different things that hopefully you guys can get something out of this. And I'm open to any Q&A after. I'm an open book as well. I met Devin through a lot of close friends, so I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. Whatever you guys need after, I'd love to share with you guys.
Awesome. So I believe you are going to screen share something, Clinton. I did
Yeah.
give access to that. And by the way, guys, I also came prepared. I have a few questions that I know will be helpful to everybody because being in this community with you guys, I kind of know what the things are that the change that you guys have that you're looking to break. So I have some good questions towards the end. Write down your questions too. Let's get into it.
All right. You guys see my screen, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So this is my slides, grow your superpowers. So a little bit of a story about grow your superpowers. It's something that I really have been living by for many years. This is the title of my book that's never been released for the past 5 years. So I just keep writing, documenting, rewriting, documenting. So it's just kind of like it's just very important to document. So it's just kind of like that story on how I live my life and what's kind of like getting me to be where I am right now. So let me try to continue on. Okay, so I do this in 3 different steps. I identify, train, and I GSD. So this is my simple 3-step formula to achieve whatever I'm achieving right now. These 3 things, I'm going to go a little bit deep into each 3 of these things. And if anybody has any questions, we kind of go from there. But we do this in identifying our superpower, training our superpower, and then GSDing, which is for myself, is just getting shit done with obviously the superpower that you guys have. So in these 3 steps, we're just going to go a little bit into the identification portion. In the identification portion, we discover, we find your why, and we share your mission, right? So each of these 3 steps that I've mentioned before, with identify, train, and GSD. So in the identify, we have the 3 as well. We discover, we find your why, and we share your mission. So in this identification stage, when we are on discover, what's very important over here is you need to determine your passions and identify your strengths. What are you passionate about? What are your natural talents? What would you choose to do if you had absolutely no limitations? So in this step, what's very important is many people work, may not like what they're working on, or may not like their job position, or may not like, just kind of like where they are in their lives. But it's very important to find your passion. You can still do a lot of stuff that you don't want to do, and obviously you have to do all that, but you do have to find yourself. And if you don't know the identity of what you're trying to be, and I go through cycles in my life where I don't know what I'm trying to do or who I want to be, and it's just very important that you have to just find yourself in this stage. Next, in the discovery stage, it's not about finding, it's about doing a little bit more than that. It's what are your core values? What are you willing to suffer for? What are you willing to sacrifice? And most importantly, what do you want your legacy to be? So on your legacy standpoint, it's, once you find yourself, it's, hey, why am I doing this? Why do I want this? If we live for a bigger picture, so on my side of it, I don't chase the money. I don't have to make more money right now. I'm all fine with that, right? But what is my why? In the first brand that I started, I want to leave something for my children. I want to leave the name. My father started this organization with 70 as a single store business owner. He grew us up as an immigrant. He came to America as an immigrant. He came here when I was a month old. He had no money to, buy us milk, buy myself milk. So he was in Times Square selling those 1-year blowers, those New Year's blowers to feed our family. I had 13 people living in an apartment when I was 13 years old, right? At some point. So we grew up from nothing, right? So what do I want? I want this, martial arts franchise to not die. Even, when people pass away, I wanted to live forever for my kids, for my future kids. I don't own one business by myself. All my businesses are owned by multiple partners. All of them are partners. I believe that you need people to grow together. So what is the legacy behind them? What is the legacy behind their kids? So, when you fight for something bigger, then you're able to fulfill much more in life. So it's very important to find your why. And I think when you find your why, then you can really go a lot deeper and love your project more and actually not give up.
Clinton, can I add to this real quick?
Sure.
So there's two sentences here that are, to me, it's all important, but to me, the most important that nobody really wants to talk about too much, right? And on one of our Deep Roots calls, we talk, and even for my real estate company, I was talking about it's not what you're capable of, it's what you're willing to do, right? And everybody has all, you're going to get off this call, right? And be like, oh, you know what? I want to do this now, right? Everybody has these big goals and dreams. But who are you willing to suffer for? What are you willing to sacrifice? Right? Like what are you willing to do? Are you willing, right, to if you're trying to build a company up, are you willing to put in work until 12 p.m. at night when you're done your first job? Are you willing to knock on doors? Are you willing to consistently get out of your comfort zone and do things you've never done before? I don't do social media. Are you willing to do the things that you've never done before? Right? You got to really focus on what sacrifices are you truly willing to make, because we all know everybody has these big goals and dreams, and 90% of people don't execute. Because why? They're not, one, they don't understand, like right up front, what the sacrifices are they're going to have to make to truly be successful. And if they thought about it, they wouldn't be talking that shit about what they're saying that they want to do. But you got to mentally have that in your mind, right? That word suffer, that word sacrifice, to a lot of people that may scare, oh man, I don't want to suffer, I don't want to sacrifice. Well, guess what? If you're not willing to do that, you're not going to win. That's just the bottom line. If you want things to be easy, you don't want to get uncomfortable, you want everything to be convenient, you want to do all the things that you've been doing up to this point, well, guess what? You're never going to get things you've never had before, because you got to do shit differently. You got to sacrifice, and you got to be willing to suffer. So I just wanted to really drive that home, because that's the shit that's going to make people do things they've never done before and be okay with, mastering the mundane, like the Marine said. So I just wanted to add to that, Clinton. I apologize.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, so we'll continue on. So the next phase is your accountability phase. So in this one, you do have to be vocal, unstoppable. You need to tell the world what you say, and you have to write it for it to become true. So this is like a contract to yourself. So we can find our superpowers, we can identify it, you can find your why. But if you keep that why within yourself and you don't actually say it, this is it's very difficult for it to be true. It's like imagining yourself, you know your mission, you found your why, and you don't tell anybody about it. Compared to you tell your wife, you tell your kids, you tell your friends, you tell your family, hey, this has not happened yet. This has not happened yet, but this is what will happen. And when you do that, it just puts a lot of accountability to yourself, which is why I mentioned before, the first step to growing my superpowers is to constantly write my book, right? It doesn't have to publish. If it publishes, great. If it doesn't publish, you need to keep writing, documenting, and that'll definitely help your accountability. So this kind of like keeps it intact, right? Those three steps on this first phase. So the result of mastering identification. So when you do these three, when you master your identification, you can then acquire your bulletproof skin and war mindset. Bulletproof skin is like this. It's no matter what happens in your life, nothing bothers you, right? No matter what somebody says, it doesn't bother you. Guys, there's so much shit to worry about. The last thing that you need to worry about is somebody else, right? So the first step is, you have to get there. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know your why. You have to be accountable. And when you can do all of those three pretty well, you'll have your bulletproof skin, right? Nothing's gonna bother you. You're not gonna have bad days. Nothing's gonna deter you, and you'll kind of build that war mindset. The next step is training. So, right, we did identify, train, GSD. So when you train your superpowers, we focus on experience, your failures, and your ability to solve the problems. This also into three steps: your ability, your experience, your failures, and ability to solve the problems. Okay, so in order to successfully train, right, this is about, like I said before, getting out of your comfort zone, right? If you only want to do what you want to do, how can you continue to learn to grow? Which is why you guys are part of communities like this and Harvest, right? In order to continue to grow. I spend hundreds of $1,000s a year on probably at least 3 to 5 different coaches or friends or mentorship programs that will help my life continue to grow, right? So it's very important that, we're supposed to spend money on our education, on our self-development, right? But the most important part is I consider that all of the training stage, right? So if we're not training our superpowers, how can we continue to grow, right? So your bulletproof mindset now that you have your, identification stage done, you have your bulletproof mindset, now we're able to acquire some hats. And these hats are your skills, right? The skill of being a realtor, the contractor, the marketer, the developer, the CEO, the educator, the coach, the janitor. How was I able to start my media company? I went to tech conferences. I learned how to make websites myself. I sold my first website. I sold my first website, which resulted in 100 websites. I was some net company, and then I wanted to have a bigger name for myself, so I bought nextlevelmedia.com and negotiated my own contracts, right? But I never really hired anybody on the outside first because I wanted to learn those specific skills myself first. And when you can learn your skill once, you can use it again, you can teach others, you can create multiple businesses out of it. Um, Realtor, I got my real estate license. It's not active. Why did I get my real estate license? I just didn't want to pay, brick and mortar realtor fees for these 90 plus spaces that we're signing. So I'll negotiate the contract terms myself. I don't really have to have a realtor. So that saves money over there, right? The marketer the same way, right? And the thing is, when you learn these skills yourself, you can actually hire better because you are not going to be confused. You're not going to have hirees that are going to step all over you and say, "Hey, I want $100,000," and you have no idea what they're talking about. A lot of people, they just imagine that the person is the expert when you know just enough. You're not supposed to know 100% of them. That's why you're hiring them to do better than you. But when you know just enough, yeah, it does definitely help a lot. And why I say janitor, I am the janitor of my life at times. And even now, anytime I need to be the janitor, I will be the janitor. Why? Because I want to show my leadership that I can mop the floor too. I want to show my leadership that I can clean too, and there's a right time to do it, right? I'm not saying do it all the time. There's a right time to do it. So, so this is very important, right? This is the experience stage. Enjoy the process. Many things will go on. Try to learn everything. Have an open mind, and you'll get past the stage. In training phase two, this is your failing stage. So you've had so much experience now in doing the multiple things. This is the stage that you need to first attempt the learning. You need to learn from failure. Don't be scared to say I failed. It's very important that a lot of people don't do things because they're scared to fail. You should love to fail. You should love to fail, and you should be addicted to failing. Because what happens is when you start failing and making mistakes and learning and whichever, that's when things really start becoming skills. I guarantee you, anything that you do that you learn a new skill on, you're not going to be perfect at it day one, right? So this is about just learning and failing and kind of growing from it. My personal side of it, I've closed multiple businesses. I failed a lot of tech projects in my life, probably for about 10 years before the launch of our software. I've closed restaurants. I've mishandled personal relationships. But every lesson that you learn from the failure, it kind of makes you who you are, right? So the reason why we start with the skill set portion first is while you learn every skill, you will fail, and a lot of people give up during the journey of the skill, right? Oh, I'm not that good at that, right? There's no such thing as I'm not that good at that. You will get good at it, or you will get good at adjusting it. There will be failures in the middle, and you will not get discouraged, right? Because this is part of the process, right? And then our third step, that's your
Wait,
problem.
real quick, can you go back to that last slide? Because I just want to share one thing that I just saw. Through these presentations, guys, there's going to be things that speak out to you, right? Maybe let's just say 80%, you're like, all right, understand. And then there's going to be things that jump out to you. I want to share with you guys one thing that really jumped out to me, which I don't know. Maybe I've never heard it before. Maybe I did a while ago and this is just a reaffirmation. But read this line: fear regret more than failure. Fear regret more than failure. When you're afraid, what I regret, that word regret keeps me up at night, right? What if I went all in? Like, what life could I have truly lived if I didn't stop being a sissy and quit, right? What if I could have thought bigger? Right? What if I got out of my comfort zone? What would my life look like if I took control of my health and fitness and actually lived a life of energy, of confidence? Right? Like that what if is one of the most scariest like words together that you guys should be terrified about. So anytime, man, what if I don't do this? Like the video's not going to be good. The social media content's going to be good. I'm going to be a failure. People are going to make it does not matter, right? Fear, regret more than failure, right? Go after it and stay on that track because guess what? You may regret. Every business owner has to put in years and years and they get knocked on their ass and they get right back up. And then eventually they get their break. Why? Because they stayed in the game. But most people will quit and they live the rest of their life with regret when they're 80 years old on the rocking chair with their significant other and they sit there and in the back of their mind, they're like, man, you know what? I regret quitting that. I regret I didn't go after that. Because now I'm at the end of my life, right? I want everybody to remember that line when you're not getting uncomfortable to become the next version of yourself or your business, right? Fear, regret more than failure. I love seeing that, Clinton. I appreciate you having it in there. That's something I'm going to take with me the rest of my life.
Good, awesome. All right, and the third step is your problem solving stage. So you have to try to solve your problems, practice solving problems, learning how to solve problems, and then also finding someone to solve the problems, right? So when you get better at solving the problems, that is when you're going to continue to grow, right? And you just have to be extremely good at it. Not going to go too deep into this because I hit this on in a couple of future slides, but those are the 3 steps of training. So when you master your training, what happens is you acquire a Rolodex of success where every problem can be solved with just one call away. So try to remember the 3 things that we did. We identify, we train, right? So now during your training, you know, the skill sets, the failures, and the multiple things that you go through, when all of that is done, you're going to master Rolodex of success. And what I consider this is like this, it's everything is just one call away. If I know, if I go from my house, if I know that the plumbing is broken, I'm one call away from finding the best plumber because I understand enough about the plumbing where I'm not going to get robbed by, you know, one of the other companies who's going to take good care of me because I understand a little bit about, you know, the pipes connecting is not supposed to cost me $5,000, right? So then that's just an example. And that example kind of applies all around with all the multiple skills that you learn. But if I have a problem in my marketing company, I'm one call away from fixing it. I'm one call away from hiring somebody again. I'm one call away from helping someone as well. This applies for others too, right? Hey, my buddy or my client or my business partner has this kind of problem. I personally can't solve it myself, but I will be one call away because during the journey of learning the skill, you will meet enough people in your life, especially if you're learning and you're failing, and then in order to solve more problems you're going to meet the right people no matter what. And that's why mentorship is so important, and that's the result of mastering your training superpower. Third, so identify, train, and GSD. So these GSD steps goes into 3 things: we set up, we execute, and then we put it on autopilot, right? Autopilot means it's just going to keep running for you over and over again, right? So we're going to go into the setup stage first. So in order to master GSD, you set your goals first. Lose how much weight. I'm going to purchase a physical item. I'm going to save X amount of money. I'm going to grow my business by whatever percentage. I'm going to grow my client base. I'm going to grow my income. I'm going to finish my pending list no matter what. And a lot of it can be, hey, these are the 5 things I could just never get done in my life. I'm going to write it down. And this is my first phase, right? So the first phase is you have to set everything up, right? You have to be very detailed and, and set up your list clearly. The next part of it is the sacrificial stage. This is where a commitment is absolutely necessary. And this is where you say, hey, I have to quit this in order for me to progress. You may not have to quit it for health purposes. You may just want to quit it for psychological purposes. For myself, I do this on a regular basis. I'm 100% or zero kind of person. So if I'm drinking, I'll make sure that I'm drinking enough, right? If I touch it once, I'll make sure once more. But on my side of it, it was holding me back a lot. So I would go through about 5 years where I would quit drinking for about 100 days at a time, and I would come back the 101st day, and it wasn't really solving it. I mean, it grew my life tremendously in 100 days. Those 100-day cycles that I put, if you look at the logo over here, GSU 100, those 100-day cycles that I put have grew my massive amount of companies. But what happened on the 101st day is, it kind of brought me back down again, and I needed the 100 again, right? So on the sacrificial stage right now, it's just kind of giving up. So on my side, I gave up drinking last September. I haven't had a sip since then. In January, I haven't drank coffee, haven't ate fried food, haven't ate rice, haven't ate noodles, haven't drank soda. So, the level of my expertise with even my superpower, understanding, how I move in my phases of my life is continuing to grow, right? And your superpower work will continue to grow if you have that habitual foundation, right? So I've had a story when I had a coaching client. His favorite instrument was the guitar. He just said he just loved it. And I felt like he talked so much about his guitar that he needed to give it up until he reached his business goal. So I made him give up his guitar. I took his guitar, put it in my house, and then 100 days later, his business actually grew by 1 point. I think the number was like almost like double, almost double, and consistently do it. And it all
Fantastic.
from just taking away that one thing that he loved and connecting it with this formula together, right? So it was definitely awesome. Next, setting up your reward, right? So through all of this, how can you have a sacrifice? How can you set up your goals? How can you set up your routines when you don't set a reward for yourself? I personally don't impulse buy. I do not impulse buy. Buying on something on Amazon, I'm not talking about the $10 or $20 items or the $100 items, but I do my best not to impulse buy. Your reward or something that should be a gift for you or for someone else that will give you massive fulfillment, that your new habits and routines become a lifestyle, something that you normally won't buy. For example, for some reason back in the day, I just really wanted a BMW i8, sports car. So I said, okay, you know what? when I partner into my 50th business, let me go buy that. As an example, I hit my 49th business. I thought I will hit my 50th a week later. I purchased the car. I didn't hit my 50th. I would leave my car there for a month and a half. So leave it there because I don't deserve it. I had to ask the dealer, hey, can I just leave it here? I'll still pay my payments. This is what I need to do in order for me to purchase it. I did not deserve that car because I did not reach my goal. And when you attach something materialistic to it as part of your self-fulfillment and your goal and your identification stage and so forth, it just becomes a real hard stone, right? So I would do that with more material obstacles, and that would be kind of like a reward. On my side, same thing. Right now, I said I even quit red meat. I hate it. I love to lift, and I need my red meat to grow. It helps with growth, but I quit it, right? So I'm trying to find different proteins in different ways. But what does the red meat do? When I achieve the goal that I'm fighting for right now, that steak's gonna taste so good, right? So that's kind of like the mindset with the rewards. So your habits is the key to success. So the last part of this part is the next phase is the execution phase. So in this execution phase, part one, what you're doing is setting up your routine and you're reminding yourself. So set up your to-do list, schedule it by the minute, set up a time where it's a power hour. Your power hour is the hour that you're setting aside where you're not speaking to anybody. And in that hour, you have to get more done than an average can get done in 3 to 4 hours, right? So set up your power hour. I personally, in order to do execution, I leave reminders everywhere. I use a lot of whiteboards. I have whiteboards in my house. I have reminders everywhere because I will forget, right? And when I see that whiteboard, when I see that message, when I see that subtle reminder, when I get my phone notification, when I see my vision board, but I personally, the logo GST 100, I have it pre-printed on my t-shirts. I have it on my cups. My cups say it. My car says it. My license plate is that. If in case that you ever see me driving, now you know what my license plate looks like. So it's everywhere, right? I made patches. I made, I was obsessed with just leaving a trail mark of everything that I wanted to remind myself so I don't forget, right? So this is kind of good strategy for execution, just to kind of create some new habits. Document the journey. As I said in the beginning about writing a book, before, during, and after, upgrading it, documenting new information that you learn, new knowledge, recording your failure. This is a war against yourself. And the only time you're going to win is when you're victorious, right? And people say, hey, what was the master to somebody's success? A lot of it is the fight with yourself. And that was it, right? If you look at a lot of like self-development and entrepreneurs that really made it to the top, a lot of it is they just know how to win against themselves, right? We're all human, we all breathe, right? So that's very important. All right, so phase three is stop choosing the easy way and execute everything the right way. So we say, is this the right way to do it? The right way to do business? The pros of doing things the right way is obviously you can live comfortably, you don't need that many skills, and you get to the finish line. These are the cons, right? You get to the finish line with no new skills learned. But many people can still get to the finish line, but many people get there without learning new skills. So we do need the habit of not choosing the easy, going through the barriers, going through the walls, learning the new skills, as I mentioned before, and your execution skills will go up, right? And never choose the easy way. I have a dev team of more than 40. Dev team says, hey, we have this problem. Can we do it this way? I say, absolutely not. I don't want to do this problem again. We're going to go head on, and it's going to be more difficult. It's going to cost more, but we're going to learn how to do this the right way. So later it's more scalable, right? So just kind of doing things the right way compared to just doing the job, right? Don't skim it, right? Go deep into the root and really do it deep, right? And then that's when you really learn. I tell all my employees and my partners, they'll come up to me and say, hey, I started this project. And I say, I know you didn't start the project because you're just doing the 5 things that I told you to do, but you didn't really go deep into, because otherwise you would ask better questions. I think people ask better questions when they're really into their job, going deep into it compared to just skimming it. This is an example of, somebody skimming their job. This is an example of going through. This person usually won't have that many questions because they'll just kind of like find their way to the finish. This person will have a ton of questions because in order to break this barrier, they need to get to the next step. And lastly, autopilot. So the autopilot portion of it is the GSC 100. What I do is I put, 100 days. In this 100 days, this is my goal. This is what I'm going to do. This is my sacrifices that I'm going to make. And I do it for 100 days straight. No exception, right? You have people that do the 75 hard challenges or whichever. So this one's kind of like my 100-day challenge that I do for myself, for my clients, for my friends. I coach my operations to do this. I coach my CMOs to do this. I coach my COOs to do this. So my various companies, we kind of all follow this. The result of mastering GST. So the time will set the habit. Alignment will set it forever. The 100 days is the time, but if you actually are aligned, it will be set forever. My alignment is health, finance, GST, and my spiritual state. Maintaining my health, being able to manage my money, being able to get shit done, and understanding there's a bigger purpose to God, bigger purpose to life, right? And having faith in everything that I do. And the faith factor for me is probably one of the most important factors. If anything hard comes in, I know that God has my back and I know I can move forward, right? So that's the faith factor.
Amen.
Yeah. So what's next? This is the last couple. What's next? So we're all coaches in life. You don't have to be a business coach, but we're all coaches of life. And we have to get extremely good at just solving the big question of what's next, right? If we could solve the what's next for, retention, relationships, your system, your tech, your staffing, your organization, and even better, what's next for your relationships, your family, your employees, your partners, your students, your clients, and that's what creates long-term relationships, right? If you could solve the what's next for, just exciting your kids on, hey, this is what's gonna come next. And even children, right, will know, hey, is that what's next? Let me try a little bit harder, right? So you definitely have to solve, if you're able to solve a lot of the problems individually for each individual entrepreneur or person that you work with, definitely the what's next is important. And we always say, Jim Rohn says, you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with and spend time with. So your growth mindset will take you to the next level. What's next for you is, obviously the communities like this. I've met Devin, and Devin's awesome. I learn from him on a regular basis, and he's definitely a true entrepreneur. So never stop learning. Spend good time with him. Right, create your what's next with him. Right, where he's out there traveling all over to just constantly learn, right? To learn and share, right? And I think that it saves a lot of time. I tell my clients the same thing. It saves a lot of time instead of you having to go extract. You get to do calls like this and learn something, right? So I think that's very important. All right, guys, that's it. Try to do it nice and quick. It's pretty early, so
Awesome.
I could do some.
So one, I want to give it to the floor in case you guys have any specific business or life questions. I have a few written down that I feel are relevant to a lot of people too. But again, this calls for you guys. Is there anything that, as you were listening, popped up in your mind that you wanted to dig a little bit deeper on, that you had a specific question in the season of your business right now that you would love to hear the answer for, or a strategy for? Anything, you guys can unmute, raise your hand. Just let me know. Go once. And again, guys, there are no stupid questions. What's stupid is having a question and not asking it, right? So just understand that, because a lot of other people may want to hear that response. They just, for some reason, don't want to ask the question. So anybody have anything before I tee our guy Clinton up with some good questions that I have?
And if you have other businesses, you can ask other business questions too, like specific to your business, right? I've coached, we've done, a lot of stuff in our media company too, so I should be able to relate to many things.
All right, so I don't see anybody raising their hand right now. So, question: one of the biggest problems I see.
Marissa's raising her hand.
Oh wait, where's she at? Hold on, Marissa, did I miss you? Where you at?
Yeah, I'm running or trying to run with the dog, and it's hard to hit the button. Sorry.
I'm seeing you getting active first and foremost. Let me give you a shout out for getting those steps in and that exercise.
Thank you. Yes. I got to do it before the day starts, but the real day starts. I guess my question is around just knowing when. I'm sure through all the businesses you've had, I have multiple businesses, and I'm kind of trying to float them at once, and I didn't do the right way of, starting one and making sure it was awesome before going on to the next. They kind of all feed each other, but knowing, I'm sure there was a time where you had to let something go that wasn't serving you. It wasn't that you weren't good at it. It wasn't serving. It wasn't something that, how do you know? How can you identify whether it's you not giving it all or it just not being the right model for where you are or whatever the case may be? Have you ever had those experiences?
Great question.
So I would kind of say that, like, I don't know your exact situation that you're in, or it looks like the key point that I heard is leveraging, some of your business, leverage your other businesses, or kind of complement each other. If that's the case, probably I won't let it go. I'll probably find the right partner to solve this problem that you have in your mind, that instead of letting it go, because if you let it go, maybe it's not leveraging your other business, right? I'm just going based on the one sentence that you said. So then maybe you just need, on that one business that you're thinking about letting go, finding a right partner for that business that will actually, not only do it, but let it grow. Because if that part of it grows more, I'm sure you wouldn't be thinking about letting it go. It may be actually feeding your other business and making it even better too, right? So depending on what type of business that you have, I usually don't tell people to let it go, because I explain like the failure side of it. Learning, grow. Are you a skill away? Maybe you're a skill away from not letting it go, right? Or compared to hiring someone to do the job as well.
Yeah, and then the next question. Yeah, but then it goes into partnership, finding the right partnerships for people, because that stuck out to me in the beginning when you started speaking, that you don't have any business alone. You have, and all my businesses are basically alone. And I see the key to doing better and going faster is to have someone else, but I don't do really good at finding someone else. I've tried that, and So any advice you can give for how you select and or find out, I think it's through through relationships, but people show themselves different when things get sticky.
Another great.
I'll probably do it in a way where, you know, every business, if you're doing it alone, you probably have an employee. The employee that's running the job, you know, if they're doing a mediocre job, maybe they're doing a mediocre job because their salary is capped at a certain amount. So if we invite our best employee in that business to say, hey, you know, I would like for you to be a partner in that business, forget about the financial side of it. So there's two different types of partnerships that we could do. We can do the investor side of it or the working partner side of it. Just have to have a good balance of who's the work. If this is a working partner, what your expectations are, when you would like to start your incentives for this working partner, when that incentive will become equity rollover for that partnership, compared to the other method is if they're a financial arm. The thing about financial investors and financial partners is that the day they stop working is the day people are mad. It's like when, you know, somebody's working in a restaurant, the chef is, you know, very, very, very happy that the investor came in and got him to, you know, open up the restaurant that he dreamed to have. 1 year later, the restaurant does well. Chef goes, why is this investor even in my life right now? I'm doing all the hard work. This guy's doing nothing. But a partnership shouldn't be like that. A partnership should be, even if that person were to able to help, that one instance in their life, right? That 1 minute, that one, you know, one task or that one call, that should not deter. So I think just a classification of investor compared to, you know, working partner that might be your employee, that you just want to take care of people. If you take care of this individual, will they amplify the business more? You may not be losing that much in the long run, right? It's just a mindset shift.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, so anybody else got something? We're coming up on 8. Anybody else before? And that's funny. One of those questions she asked, I actually had written down too. Clinton, so one of the biggest things I see with actually a lot of people in this community too, either as they're growing or if they have an idea to expand, right, is the lack of systems and processes, right, to grow and scale, right? And then, you know, a lot of the conversation, all right, well, dude, you got to start creating checklists. Like, everything has to be replaceable with a system or a checklist so you can grow and scale. Then that business owner is like, all right, so I got to do it, and then they never get to doing it, right? It's just like they're always so busy in their business where they never get to creating systems and processes. Now you have 80, close to 100 companies right now. What was your solution to getting down systems and processes so you can continue to grow? What? Through people, because that's the only way you can grow and expand is through people. Did you third party it? Did you have specific methodology on how you created your systems and processes? Did you bring in a consultant? What did that look like for somebody in here that wants to grow their business and, you know, kind of be more efficient or scale it?
So in terms of systems, I would say systems are all usually technology related. And on my side of it, which is why we grew the tech company that we have right now, which is my manager, right? So when I first started the martial arts business, because I go back to that because that was my first one. You know, my company was called a CMA Planner. This was software only for my martial arts schools that I couldn't get somewhere else because I wanted to work in a specific way. Then the next one we expanded to gyms. Then it became mymember.com. Then the third one, now we're, you know, expanding worldwide with, you know, multiple businesses. You know, my restaurants had a problem with employees, right? Being able to hire employees, being able to pay employees, being able to calculate P&Ls by the day instead of P&Ls by the month. So our software kind of built that. So we solve problems through technology, and my manager has been like the one-stop shop for the gyms, for the, you know, the restaurants, for the coaching business, for pretty much anything. My to-do list, goals, which is partnered with ADP, so it does a payroll for ADP, does a bunch of stuff as well.
Got it. So you kind of did that right through technology to help make your stuff more efficient.
Yep, yep.
Got it. And then leadership. One of the questions I have too. You have all, you know, there's one thing to have all these companies, but there's another thing to make sure that in one shape, one way or another, that you still have your hand on the pulse to continue to, you know, with the owners of all these companies, like, you know, some people have one company and they go on vacation and can't sleep at night, right? Because most of the time they think they're a business owner, but they're actually an employee As fucked up as it sounds for people to hear that, that's the real truth, right? Until we get uncomfortable to think bigger about bringing in people. Now you got 80 companies, right? So somebody's sitting on here, man, I can't even relax with one company. Like, how do you like have an overview and how do you continue that communication with all these companies? What does that process look like to still maintain your leadership, still maintain your presence amongst all these companies? What systems or processes or meetings do you run? What does that all look like?
So leadership is inspiration. Leadership to your team leaders, if they are an employee, you will never be able to sleep at night, ever. But if your employee that you're having leading your business is your family, you can sleep at night. Meaning, if you're spending time with them, if you're eating with them, if you're going out with them, if they are your everything, then when you leave, they will fight for your everything, right? So the key factor is like a lot of people can't leave because they don't have the one person that they trust to run their business. But if you say everything is my fault, everything is my fault that the person is not trained enough. Everything is my fault that I cannot trust them. Everything is my fault. If we do more like that, maybe you would spend more time now to eat with them, to socialize with them, to really make them your family. And so that you can take 2 steps back and actually be free and kind of move to the next step. So I do think leadership is inspiration. Leadership is spending time. Leadership is acknowledgement. And I learned this, I think last month from someone. We were going through like the 5 points of leadership. And out of the 5 points, my weakest thing that for myself was that the weakest characteristic of the 5 points was acknowledgement, right? Do you acknowledge your people more? Do you pull them to the side and tell them that they did a great job more, privately and publicly? And I felt like I don't do that as much. You know, the CMO of KFC before they went to KFC, you know, when he went there, he created this culture of having a rubber duck as an award to acknowledge people. That thing grew so deep into the company. When people were passing away in the coffin, they wanted that rubber duck with them, you know, to symbolize that was the happiest thing, right? And that's acknowledgement. And when you could acknowledge at a higher level, then you should be able to inspire at a higher level too.
What a great answer. And that everybody should have wrote notes on that. And that should have empowered a lot of people on here because that was and a great story behind that. Awesome. Anybody have any other questions before we sign off? We got a few minutes left. I just want to continue to check in with you guys in case maybe now you have a question. Let me see here. Oh, all right. I got one more before we sign off, right? You got a tons of businesses, right? We talked about passion in the beginning, right? Sometimes, you know, when there's more opportunities, how do you identify, like, is this for me or am I just chasing the next shiny object, right? Or maybe this is a profitable business, but you know what, like, that's not me, right? Like, how do you identify what companies that you want to take on? And, you know, because you always hear that line, you know, you can't, if you're, what is it, not a man, you can be something of many, but never a master at one, right? You always hear people talk about that. And then you meet entrepreneurs who are like, well, guess what, motherfucker? I got all these companies and they're all doing good, right? So I don't know how valid that is, right? So what would your advice be when there's, you know, of taking on other businesses? Like, do you have to be passionate about it? What, from your experience, from somebody who's done it, most importantly, you've done it, I'd be interested to hear what your feedback is on that.
So for that one, I would say, you know, I go back to, you know, the learning the skill portion of it. Gamble on yourself, then it's gonna be okay. So if you think your skill set can amplify this business, I would take it on. If you think you don't have the skill set and you're just purchasing a business and you're gonna learn as you go, it's probably not the right answer. Preset that skill set. I'm gonna go buy a restaurant. I would go actually work in a restaurant first, from dishwasher to busser to line cook to server before you buy a restaurant. That's probably better from based on my experience, right? So and then if once you have that skill set, once you know the in and outs of the business, you may not want to buy it, or you may want to buy it because you know more about what you're really going to do. And I think that skills complement purchases. So if your skill set can amplify this business, then buy it. If your skill set cannot, I just wouldn't buy it. I don't touch anything that I can I can't grow or help, you know.
Great answer, man. I haven't heard it positioned that way before, so I'm thankful I asked that question because that's relevant for me. You know, everyone else, you know, some people on here too. I know a lot of people always have opportunities come their way. So, guys, listen. I know I got a ton of valuable information from this call. This is going to be recorded. You can go and rewatch the recording. Clinton, thank you so much, guys. As always, share the call, right? Contribute, follow Clinton. You know, give them a shout out on social. I mean, these guys are incredibly busy and they come in and pour into us with some valuable wisdom. Clinton, just give us one more run of what are your companies so we can follow them, we can support them, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, put in the comments. So my personal social is clinton.oh, and my latest project, My Manager CRM, that is our main software company right now. We're full force into this right now. So that's the company that we're trying to take over the world with. So if we can support those two things, that'd be awesome.
And then your gym franchises too. I know your restaurants because they're pretty much New York based, but like, what are those franchises in case anybody comes across them?
Yeah, so Champions Martial Arts is a martial arts franchise. Man for Chicken is my chicken franchise.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Clint. Everybody, thank you so much for hopping on this call. Share your lessons in the community. Take notes, write down, execute, GSD, get shit done. And remember, no call next week, but stay connected. Keep communicating within our community. Meet each other. Go to each other's events. Let's continue to support and contribute to each other. Have an amazing day, guys. Hit me up if you need anything, any connections. I'm here for you, right? So this is a community for you guys. Appreciate you guys. Have an amazing day. Thank you, Clayton.
Have a good day, guys. Thank you. Very nice.